Michelle, can you give anyone listening to us today on Near FM a summary of why you think there needs to be a change in the tax system in Ireland, and a bit of an example of the changes on a practical level you recommend?
Absolutely, Darren. Yes, so I suppose what we're saying, looking at our current sort of deficits in services and infrastructure, I suppose housing and energy being the obvious ones, and water, that the overall tax take in the country is going to have to increase in the years ahead. To address the current deficits and meet the needs of a growing and aging population. What we're saying today to government is that needs to be done in a progressive way, and we make a plan for it, and we do it slowly over time so that we can pay for the services we're going to need into the future, and also build the homes that we need, the social homes, upgrade our national grid, upgrade our water infrastructure, for example. So I suppose the first thing, Darren, we're asking government to do is set a new tax take target, but do it on a population basis, so a per capita basis. So at least the amount you're taking in should be able to provide for the population of the country. So we're looking for that target to be set by government this year. Obviously, we have our own proposal around that, but we would like to see that per capita tax take target. That means you do need to change and reform the system slightly. We should be moving away from an over-reliance that we have on income tax, PRSI, VAT and corporation tax. So, we're really reliant on a corporation tax take from, a small number of very profitable firms, and the large bulk of the rest of the revenue we take in, it's from individuals. So we need to move away from that. We're going to have less people in work in years to come and more older people. So how do we broaden the base? Do we need to look at the tax breaks we have, for example? They cost at least €8 billion a year. Could that money be actually better spent somewhere else? That's money we're not taking in. Could we invest that in our infrastructure? Looking at a side value tax, for example, looking at standardising tax breaks. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about. Changes and reforms to ensure that we've a predictable level of revenue in the years to come, and a higher level of revenue than we have now.
I find it remarkable that some parties in Ireland, and I'm thinking in particular Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, have talked, and for a good few years now, about tax cuts, albeit usually small, I think, because I personally don't think that the public services in Ireland have recovered since the Great Recession, even today, never mind a few years ago. Would you agree with that, Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, Darren, tax cuts have an annual cost. They cost you money every year because it's money that you're not taking in. And to pay for it, either you have to raise more tax or you have to reduce your expenditure going to services. That's in reality what you're doing if you're offering a tax cut. And as you say, our public services haven't recovered from, the cuts that were implemented during the crash. And also there's more people living in the country. Our population is growing, but it's also aging. So there's more pressure on the education system, for example, and there's a lot more pressure on the health service. So, offering tax cuts isn't going to solve the problem that we have of, not enough investment. And we really should be looking at, in government, what they need to be looking at is generating the revenue they need to deliver the services that people expect, in a modern, wealthy country. And at the very least they should be able to do is provide a decent healthcare and education system that everyone can access, and people should have access to housing. Like, it shouldn't be beyond the reach of someone to either rent a home or buy a home. And the problem is the crisis in housing at the moment is putting pressure elsewhere all over the economy, particularly on wages, and it's something that needs to be addressed. When it comes to taxation, tax cuts aren't going to solve that problem. We need to be investing money in services and infrastructure.